Hi, my name is Mary Pat Jacobs, and welcome to Beyond the Echo Chamber podcast. Why are we here? I live in an echo chamber. We all do to some extent. The echo chamber I'm referring to contains women who are frankly tired, frustrated, and angry about the inequality we experience. Participating in this little bubble, this little female echo chamber is validating and cathartic. But for me, this only made me more angry with men and more resentful with my husband. And last time I checked, resentment doesn't lead to change. Like Liz Plank said, we can't improve women's lives if we don't help men. So what I'm doing here is inviting men into conversation about gender equality so that you can feel empowered to do the same in your own life, in your home, in your family, in your community, your church, in your workplace, having these hard conversations, these uncomfortable conversations. So come with me as we go beyond the echo chamber, one conversation at a time. Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of Beyond the Echo Chamber podcast. My name's Mary Pat Jacobs. I am really glad you're here. If it's your first time, welcome. If you've stuck around through episode 7 here to episode 8, thank you so much for being part of this experience for me, which has been a great learning experience, very iterative. I'm really grateful you are here, and I'm hoping that in this episode I can help to share more about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, as well as some things I've been thinking about since recording the first 2 episodes. So I'll start with talking about gender equality. I've cared about that topic maybe since it was when I read Lean In years ago. It was early in my career. I didn't have any children yet, was all in on women's empowerment, reading books about it. I think I read a book called Women Don't Ask. I'm blanking on all the other books. Honestly, they're probably like right behind me or something. I don't know. But was all in on women's empowerment. Didn't really think of it. I guess I thought about it as gender equality, but it was framed as like women in leadership, women's empowerment. How can we boost women to take up more space? So that was, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago. Fast forward to the last couple of years, with COVID, having my third child all around the same time, making a career change, I was starting to feel like there was something in me that needed to be let out more. I wasn't really sure how to unleash it, though. So I had this moment where I think I love learning. I mean, anyone who knows me really well knows I love learning. My role, my career is learning and development. So it's pretty on brand that it's like personally very important to me, or I would not have made that career change. I was seeing a lot of stuff around like affirmations and people kind of taking a bunch of sticky notes, which if you look at my desk here, there's sticky notes all over the place, and writing affirmations on them. So I thought I would do that. I thought I'd put them on my bathroom mirror because then it would be a constant reminder for me. I wrote a bunch of sticky notes, and one really stuck around, literally. And I have it still hanging like a year and a half later on my ugly old like 80s medicine cabinet door. So every time I open it up to get my eye makeup remover, I see it there. And that one says, I have more to give. Really, I've seen that as a reminder. I've seen it several times a day, telling me to keep listening, keep experimenting, keep trying, keep putting myself out there, schedule the coffee date, send the person a message on Instagram, be vulnerable. Maybe by following all these things and saying yes to all these opportunities will help me to understand when I say I have more to give, what is more and how might I actually give it. I love to overthink things, and if that example of that Post-it note and what it's motivating me to do isn't an example of that, I don't know what is. I even have something here on my water bottle, which is adorned with stickers, as you can see. But inside, we've got the station, which is a lovely little place in Fredericktown, Missouri. My feminist Barbie sticker from the novel Neighbor. I think I got this one from either Procure. Anyway. Oh, and here's my podcast sticker. Okay, this one is, hold on, let me overthink this. And my sister gave that to me as a gift, probably for my birthday. I don't know. But she's not wrong. I'm a Specify fact finder. Anyone who's familiar with Colby Corp, KOLBE, they have an assessment that helps you identify how you instinctively take action. I'm certified in it. I use it for our company. And Specify fact finders are known to overthink things, ask lots of questions, provide lots of context. And so this episode is basically me using my Colby strength of Specify. So after a while of overthinking, of loving podcasts, I'm in a podcast club. Shout out to my podcast club girls, pod club. Hey, hey. Knowing that I love to have conversations with people, I love to talk about deep topics, things that are important, meaningful. Saying that, gosh, I think I would want to start a podcast someday. But what would it be about? What would I talk about? I mean, there's 4 million podcasts out there. What the hell would I say that might be even different than what's out there? Just kind of decided to commit to it. It was December 2022. I was out to lunch with my mom and my sisters. We were celebrating my sister's birthday around the holidays. So it's kind of like, reset, end of the year, New Year's resolution kind of timing. And I said, I'm starting a podcast in 2023. And in the podcast, I'm going to be talking to men or about men or both. Don't really know, but that's what I'm going to do. So kind of took a while to get going with that. I sort of made that declaration, stated my intention. I work full time. I have 3 kids at the time under 7 years old. So, it's kind of a lot to have a side hustle when I feel like I'm already hustling as it is, just being a parent. So it took a little bit of time. Josh and I recorded the first 2 episodes in February of 2023. I didn't get around to editing or publishing them until September 2023. So it took a little bit of time. There's lots of imposter thinking along with that. I know that these things take time, and I am a human like you. And I become very impatient when it's in this figuring it out stage of projects. I just want it to be done. Or I want it to be figured out so that I can just do the thing and be consistent with the thing. So that was a bit of a struggle. The name of the podcast, how did I come up with? I wanted to call it Beyond the Echo Chamber. I have felt for a really long time, long enough at least, that there are women in my bubble, my social media bubble, in my personal life, who have lamented time and time again about the men around us, essentially disappointing us, or in a very exaggerated, dramatic way, sometimes actually happening, kind of ruining everything, taking rights away from women, not supporting families. And this is happening everywhere. It's happening in politics. No surprise there. Obvious statement of the day. In the private sector, in our families, in our workplaces, in our homes, in our relationships, all across the board. Talking about these things, complaining about them, getting really angry and worked up and oh my God, yeah, this is so frustrating. It's really cathartic, really validating, and it just tends to stay in the bubble. Or I guess another way of saying that is it stays within my own echo chamber where the same chorus of thoughts and feelings would ring out to the point where anytime I was talking to another man, and it's usually my husband, but I would be shocked when he didn't know what I was talking about, or I had to educate him on a topic. But it's he's seeing all of the data on his social media feed. He's into crypto. He's into, fitness and cooking. And he's not seeing this stuff, right? So it kind of led to like me being really annoyed with him and resentful towards him. And it just was not productive. Like it was a division there. That's not helpful. There's a great example of it actually being like documented. And that's in the first episode of the podcast where you can hear it in real time, the awkwardness and the discomfort of me trying to explain what toxic masculinity is to him. He had never heard the term. I had never been asked to define it. I just thought everybody knew what it was, but no, definitely not. Also, it's not a term that like when a man hears it, they're like, oh, let's talk more. Please tell me more about toxic like, can you imagine if someone was like toxic femininity? You're like, let's have a conversation about that where I'm not going to be defensive. That's just not going to happen. So that was an interesting moment, but I think it was very indicative of just how in our own little boxes we are. And we see this everywhere. We see this in politics for sure, like conservatives doubling and tripling down on their points of view and liberals doing the exact same thing, which is just like division, and not like critical thinking, conversations, radical candor, compromise, open-mindedness. Just, it's a whole, there's a million podcasts for that, right? My goal is to step outside of my echo chamber to talk with men about equality. But what do you get out of this whole thing? You get two things. One is awareness. The other is empowerment. I hope that you'll gain some awareness of what's going on in women's lives and men's lives that might be getting in the way of the equality that we are seeking. Maybe it's learning about topics that you didn't know before or that you didn't see before. Maybe it's topics that were kind of taboo that are being discussed here that you never really heard anybody talk about before. So just gaining some awareness. And when I talk about empowerment being a benefit, it's maybe taking that awareness and feeling confident enough to have these conversations with men in your own life. Maybe it's taking a topic from an episode like pay equity or division of household labor and saying, let's have a conversation about this. It could be with your son. It could be with your partner. It could be with your father. It could be with really anyone who is a male, identifies as a male, to just feel empowered to have more of these conversations where I would bet they're not really happening with the kind of intention and open-mindedness that I think can just lead to more learning and stronger relationships in our lives. One thought I've had as I've been learning more about this, and I also have Liz Plank's book here, For the Love of Men, From Toxic to More Mindful Masculinity. She wrote a book called For the Love of Men, and this woman her Instagram handle is Feminist Fabulous, okay? So, like, she is the poster person for being a feminist, identifying as a feminist, and wanting to support men as not being dichotomous. They're not mutually exclusive. These things can coexist. And she wrote a whole freaking book about it. And I feel like it's my own. I feel like I'll be reading scripture here today from the book of Liz Plank. Because, I mean, I haven't even gotten through all of it. I'm obsessed with her. I listen to her on Man Enough. I think she is a force of good. I just love Liz Plank. Anywho, I have it highlighted. I've got notes. There's such depth here and such goodness and helpfulness. Please read this book, or listen to Liz on the Man Enough podcast. Point of the story here is that when I kind of made this, I don't know if it was a pivot or just an expansion of my thinking of like women in leadership, yes, but also like we can't get ahead if we aren't having men be allies. And what does that even look like? And why aren't they being allies? And just, again, overthinking it. I have had to sort of grapple with this, like, why the hell am I trying to help men? Why am I trying to lift them up? Why am I talking about men are struggling. Like, I'm right in front of me right now looking at a graphic from a Scott Galloway piece, and it says men are struggling, and it has data, and they are struggling. Don't get me wrong. It feels wrong, I guess, to be like, I'm going to help men here when women really are getting our rights taken away. It feels like we're sort of, that whole Handmaid's Tale dystopia is not too far off. And I get that. I feel that, right? I actually think spending my energy doing this, having this podcast, inviting men into conversation, empowering you to have conversations with the men in your lives can help with women's rights, with gender equality, because it gets to the root. It gets to the root, which is we can only get so far. We need allies, right? We need allies to help support us and celebrate us, make space for us. And Liz Plank has said, we cannot help women if we do not help men. And if you've listened to one episode of Man Enough, I think you'll understand this fully. Like, it's such a great podcast. You really should listen to it. Because here's the thing. If men continue to clap back at women's success and acquiesce to the messages of the Andrew Tates of the world, it will only further divide us and hold women back and men back, by the way. If we can help men be more mindful, feel their feelings, reframe vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness, make space for women, all of these things, I just can't help but believe that women will benefit. They'll have better fathers. They will have better partners, better brothers, better direct reports, better coworkers, better bosses, better coaches, better, like every person they come across in their life who is a man or identifies as a man it will just be better. I don't know, maybe this is naive and optimistic, whatever, but this is the goal, right? It's a goal. Let's just try to live in more harmony together, okay? Scott Galloway, Connor Beaton, hopefully I'm saying your last name right, Connor, of Man Talks, have great content about this. I'll make sure to link them and the things I've come across that they've produced in the show notes. Another piece of this, and this is why I think it's so important to step outside of our echo chambers and the bubbles that we're in, is I don't think I quite realized the other world that's out there that is seeing women's unity as a threat. I don't think I realized how emboldened that has made men, or how much that's growing. The last year with the Barbie movie, Beyonce, Taylor, I mean, as far as I could tell, again, in my own little bubble, women weren't like, you're either Team Taylor or you're Team Beyonce. It was very like, we're all in this together. We're all supporting each other. Beyonce was at Taylor's movie premiere. It was really this moment of that saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. There wasn't backstabbing, which I feel like women have been conditioned to do. I mean, hello, Mean Girls, right? Like, nope, not room for everyone. Like, this is, it's a competition of who's the best, who's the prettiest, who's the whatever. And this last year has really been like a girl power moment, right? It is freaking beautiful to witness. And that has got to be terrifying to men who feel like the more power women gain, the more power they lose. And they're actually, that could be true, but it's more of a shift. It's more of a balance than it is like, we're coming for you, men. We're coming for you. You better look out. It's like, no, I don't think that's it. I think we just want success too. We want to thrive. We want to have fulfilled lives. That's kind of all we're asking for here. So that piece, I feel like I need to do more research on. Here I go again. I've just started to follow more and more men who are talking about this. And I mean, quite literally, Connor Beaton's platform is Man Talks. And so I've listened to 2 of his podcasts so far. I'll link the 2023 recap. It's so good. The final thing I want to say here, I want to talk about Josh and how grateful I am for him. If not for him, I would not be sitting right here on a Sunday afternoon recording this. He's been like more supportive. Like every little imposter thought that pops up, if they were little bubbles, he's like boop, 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 just popping them, because he's like, no, you can do this. You've been talking about this for a long time. You have what it takes. It's almost like the Post-it, I have more to give, is him. Oh, it's going to make me emotional. It's like him that's saying it. I should put like Josh. Like that's Josh's quote. He's been encouraging me and empowering me to do this more than I feel like I've even been motivating myself to do it. He's an introvert. He's discreet, and yet he was cool to do the first podcast with me that we broke into 2 episodes, and then he recorded again with me. 4 of this, I guess with this one being 8, half of the episodes are with him. So when I say I'm inviting men into conversation, I've been kind of laughing about it. I'm really just inviting my husband, but it's fine. It's a starting point, right? This whole process is iterative, right? Iterative? Fine. I think I might have added an extra syllable there. I don't even think he'll be listening to this, but I'm so grateful for him. He's challenged me. Like he's not in my echo chamber, just so you guys know. Which is why I invite him into conversation, because he wouldn't be supporting this if he didn't think there was something beneficial to it. Like he's not one of those people that's very fickle. Not a chance. He's very firm in his beliefs while also being open-minded, and I love that about him. I admire that about him. He's just been a really great thought partner on this journey and life partner. Right now, all 3 kids are home. It's around dinner time. I've been up here for 3 hours working on this. It's just amazing that he's shown up for me in that way. So shout out to Josh. I love you. You're incredible. Thank you for being here. Thanks for following along. Take care and go have those hard conversations. Do you have ideas, topics we can discuss here? Do you want to be on the show or have a recommendation of a man I should invite on the show? Email me at beyondtheechochamberpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at Beyond the Echo Chamber Pod. You can find me on Facebook, Beyond the Echo Chamber Podcast, and on YouTube at Beyond the Echo Chamber Podcast. Thank you for being here. Have those hard conversations.